This week on the Daily Dose, we are talking about that disease we have to please people. We are obsessed sometimes with seeking that approval. We chase it everywhere we go, don't we? Because it's easy to get obsessed with what other people think of us. And quickly, we forget to see and wonder what God thinks of us. Earlier this week, we heard reminders that we are enough from God, enough to God. God tells us we are a masterpiece, we are forgiven, and there is nothing that we can do to somehow earn approval from God. And today, as we close this series, we're looking at our relationships with other people. Let's be honest, there are going to be people who don't approve of us for some reason or another, people who maybe don't like us. In one of my first jobs, I had a supervisor who eventually decided that I was not the right person for that job. I thought I had done my job to the best of my ability, but the organization was moving in a different direction, and that supervisor determined that I was not part of that future. And I was young. Now I can kind of own up to my own mistakes. But back then, I talked to someone else in the organization thinking they could maybe be an advocate for me. I thought that would be a great idea. It turns out it was not a wise decision. Going directly to my supervisor would have been the best thing to do in hindsight, but that's not what I did. Fast forward a week or so, this supervisor found out I had gone to this other person, pulled me into his office, and presented me with a letter explaining why I would be leaving that position. And it was really hard. I can remember I shed a lot of tears, and in my memory, he did not. It was a tough thing to go through at that time. And it wasn't the kind of role where I could just pack up and leave. I needed to tie things up. I was there for another good month. And on the one hand, I was grateful to still have my job for those few weeks. On the other hand, I had to face this conflict for a full month. And living in this brokenness, this tension, was really hard for me. I am a people pleaser. I've had to watch these daily doses on repeat from the last week because I still am a people pleaser. That was a really hard time. And my time in that job, it finished out fine. And I still have some friendships from my time there, from my role there, but I was so angry with this supervisor. Not just for a few months or a little bit of time, I was angry for years. I kept that letter because for some reason I just felt like I needed to harbor that anger. In some part of my brain, I think back then I had thought that he would just turn things around. He would say, "Oh wow, you are a great employee and I want to keep you here." My supervisor was not who I wanted him to be. He didn't let me keep that job that I wanted, and I interpreted that as somehow he just simply flat out did not approve of me. And in situations like that, it's really hard, isn't it, to throw love back at that other person. I kept that letter because for a long time I didn't want to love him. I secretly wanted that organization to somehow fail because I wasn't there. Dramatic. Yes, I know that now, looking back. But just then, when I start to get all self-righteous and think I don't need to love someone who doesn't approve of me, that love should just be reciprocal, end of story, period. I hear these words from the book of Romans, chapter 12. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay evil for evil. Be careful and do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it's possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Okay, I get it. I hear the point. There's nothing in these verses, however, that says love will be easy. But God already approves of me, so that's a huge weight off my shoulders. There's nothing I could do to earn that approval. And maybe now that I'm living without that weight of needing to do something to earn God's approval, I should remember that other people are not simply going to become who I want them to be. They may not give me the job, even if I think I'm the most qualified and the nicest person, but it does no good for me to withhold that love, right? Eventually, I did rip up that letter. And did anything change with how my previous supervisor felt about me? I don't know. I did run into him a few years later, and we had a lovely conversation about his brand new grandson. We didn't talk about that difficult time in the past, and maybe that's okay. Maybe God was working through both of us, helping remind us to rejoice when another person rejoices, not to be too proud, to practice hospitality. So who is God reminding you to love today? Are you holding that chip on your shoulder from an old relationship? A time where your love was maybe out of your own self-interest? Today I invite you to pray, God, help me to love someone for who they are, not for who I think they should be. Thanks so much for tuning into the Daily Dose. Hey, if you live in the Alexandria area, we're gearing up for in-person worship. We would love for you to make plans to join us on May 30th. Check out our website to learn more. Thanks so much.
Oxygen, my very breath, the source of life, the source of rest. Oh, I need you. You're the wind that fills these fragile sails. You carry me through crashing waves. Oh, I need you. Oh, breathe in, you in, Yahweh, Yahweh. Breathe in, you in, Yahweh, Yahweh. Breathe in, you in, Yahweh, Yahweh. Breathe in, you in. Stars would have no shine. Stars would have no shine without your word. So be the spark, Lord, let me burn. Oh, I need you. Oh, I need you. Burning within, Yahweh, Yahweh. Burning within, Yahweh, Yahweh. Burning within, Yahweh, Yahweh. Burning within. You are the great I am, seated upon the throne. Nothing can take your place in my heart. I'm bringing all I am, standing with lifted hands. Nothing can take your place in my heart, in my heart. Singing your name, Yahweh, Yahweh. Singing your name, Yahweh, Yahweh. Singing